Hello everyone, welcome to our latest live broadcast. Today is the 16th of September. Ooh, my video is breaking up pretty bad there. Let's see if things settle down. We've got a different streaming computer up here right now. And I also look like I'm a little chopped off at the top of my head for some reason, which I don't understand. I don't recall moving my camera. So give me just a second and let me make an adjustment here because I didn't expect that to happen. Oh, you know what? Hold on a minute. Let me make sure I'm centered. Yep, it's not on the software side. I have to physically move the camera. That's a heck of a time to find out, huh? Welcome in. We'll keep talking. It is the 16th of September as we march our way towards fall. Please get here, fall. Let's see, we'll move that this way. We'll move this one. We're gonna go that way. That looks like it was set up before. All right, I guess I must have nudged it when I was moving some things around. All right, still kind of chopping the top of my head off, but that'll work for now. Hopefully everybody can see and hear me okay. I am running off a different streaming PC. This is a Nook Extreme 11. It's actually a few years old, and I really like it a lot. And it was purchased for this reason, but I kept thinking I could build something better. And turns out not so much. So we'll see how this guy goes. But we're off to the races, and yeah, hopefully that's going to work out for us for a while. With the old streamer, it's got good internal parts, but the case and the screen, all the Thermaltake stuff has to be removed. Everything else that's not Thermaltake is good. So I'll get around to that at some other point. In the meantime, thank you to our friend Buster. Sends us an Amazon gift card prior to the show starting, as always. Thank you, Buster, out there in Scotland watching the show. And hello to everybody hanging out in the chat room here. We've got Victor Torres and Mark Baggett, Lana Dro, as well as David Herzog, Jonathan Fells, Scott. I see David Graham, and I see Kelly Stewart comes back as a supporter. Right on. Thank you, Kelly. And boy, it's been a while since we've seen Kelly in the chat. Good to see you. There's Gary Tatum, Jack Kugelmis, 3D Everything, Gilberto Colazzo, Ben Laird. Ben joins us from Scotland as well. Mark Gaines in Northern Ireland joins us and says hello. And Thomas Mac T, Frank Jimmy, Elite Soul, Wild Soul, Dennis K, and Andy W6AD all say hello, along with Marsman50. Is my video choppy? We're super choppy. All right, well, let's see here. If I come over here, there's a few. Let me see the preview here. Oh yeah, I can see it's a little choppy. Bear with me here. It's probably an internal setting. Let me get over to the right controller. So this Nook has some really interesting tuning utility that comes with it, the Intel Nook Studio software. And what I might want to do is just put this into performance mode. I was trying to, let's see if this works. I was trying to find a way to keep it quiet so that we don't hear the fans running. When this thing gets hot, oh boy, does it get loud. It's the downside of getting one of these really small compact computers with a very high-end processor. So let's just see if that makes any difference for us. I know it's not our network connection. I know we're good there. And the only other thing it could be would be potentially the capture card. However, I'm not quite sure on that one. What's interesting is when I do any testing with this, when I'm not broadcasting, it looks great locally. So if there is a data transfer issue getting the data processed and then out, through the PCIe bus and then out to the internet connection, it may not be the performance setting. It may be rather the a limitation that we've hit, or something has come loose while I've moved it around. So when I look in my preview window right now, everything locally looks good. I don't get any of the stuttering or anything like that. But when I see what's going out to YouTube, yeah, I can see what Mara's talking about here with regards to that stuttering. So I'm not sure, but I'm going to try one more thing here. We're going to go to maximum performance. And let's see if it lets me do that. It's balanced mode, low power, max performance. Yeah. Fan should be on balanced, max performance. And now, yeah, it's not receiving enough video. Okay, interesting. It almost seems like it's connecting at a slower speed on my network. Just check something here. Right click, network. Sorry, I'm just trying to see what speed I'm connected at here. Network settings. Turn that off. Yeah, we're connected at 2.5 gig, so that shouldn't be our problem. There's one other thing I can try, and sometimes closing OBS and restarting it helps us. So let me give that a quick shot. I'll be right back. Okay, with OBS now restarted, we'll see if that makes any difference whatsoever. I have seen where simply shutting OBS down and restarting it again has fixed problems. It's unexpected, honestly, because everything on my side looks fantastic, but clearly something. So the capture card's getting our video just fine. It seems like it's having some difficulty getting it out to the network, which is unexpected. It's good. Nothing like a live diagnosis to get things kicked off. Now, of course, we still have the old machine. We can just pop it back here in just a moment if need be. So just bear with me as I just want to diagnose this right quick, best I can, to try and identify where the issue is. So, well, I know it's not a performance issue with the box, and I know the video input is going in fine. It's processing fine. The one thing I don't know is the bandwidth of that slot, which should be plenty, actually. Connection's good, drivers are good, everything looks like it should be working. So I am a little bit confused. Hang in there for 1 second, and I'll put the old streamer back, and then I'll work on this after. Everything on my testing showed it was fine. But when you go live, well, sometimes you get a different result. What can you do? All right, stand by, please, and I will be back here in just a couple minutes. All right, I've made a setting change in OBS, and I'm wondering if that is the culprit. Let's just see what happens with this one setting. Just one more thing I want to try. See if it looks better now. Are we good? Okay. All right. I had it set to software decoding instead of hardware decoding, I guess. Or it's the other way around. I switched it the other way. So everybody says it's looking better. All right, I apologize for that little glitch. The benefits of moving to a new machine. Sometimes it needs a little polishing. But I really didn't want to put that old one back. I'm so sick of that thermal tape case. So, okay, good. Everybody says it's better now. Right on. Thank you for the feedback. So we're going to try again and say welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And today I've got some recycled laptops. These are all just some random laptops I picked up at Emerald Computers. I've got to say, Jason was very accommodating. He's like, you know, I said, what can I take? He goes, what do you want to take? I don't know. I mean, do you have any recommendations? He's like, well, we've got laptops here. How about some HP laptops? We got lots of those. Okay. How about this red one? Sure. How about that white one? Yeah, go ahead and take it. All right. How about this one that's all bedazzled? Yeah. We don't know anything about these. In fact, these may not have been processed yet, so I want to be very considerate and respectful of any potential data that exists there. Jason over at Emerald Computers and myself both do data destruction. So normally a machine would not go out of Emerald Computers with a drive in it, first of all. They will put a new drive in it. They don't even erase customer drives, they destroy them. I, on the other hand, I erase them. So we had that discussion. I said, look, what about, because these haven't been processed, we don't know what's on them. You know, I am a company, and this is what I do. It's part of my career. He goes, oh, yeah, you're fine. As long as you're, you know, licensed for that, it's no problem. And I said, oh, yeah, no problem. So that way, you know, I'm also trying to help him out. Like, I'm trying to make this a win-win situation for everybody where we get some content, you guys get some new stuff to consider for content. And then for them, we can go through some of these machines on their behalf. And of course, they're welcome. And I expect them to give it their own opinion, regardless of what I find. And if I can help do some of the work along the way, as well as encourage you guys, if you're looking for this kind of equipment that's been recycled, really discounted, keep it out of the landfill, it's good for them. So I don't see a downside to any of this, other than changing my streamer. So when we last looked at these, I had pulled these out and showed them to you. And this one was brought to my attention only that, you know, he was asking me, how do you get these stickers off? How do I do it? Because he has a way. And I said, I get a plastic razor blade and I scrape at them. And I did let you guys know that if you do this to your laptop, it can absolutely reduce any amount of value. If you're somebody who cares about the environment, don't do this to your laptop. But they also mentioned, like when we, let's say we go through all the time and labor, not only that, but the materials, the adhesive remover, that stuff is chemicals. You've got to use towels and razors. All of that stuff costs money. And when you're done, you might end up with little bright spots, like an old picture hanging on a wall, and you take the picture off the wall and the paint is brighter. And I said, you know, the amount of time and effort that has to go into cleaning these up, and then when you combine that with the fact that they're already recycled computers, they've already had a life, you're not going to get a lot of money out of it. So the more time and labor you have to put into it, makes it less worth your time to do. Especially if you're like Emerald Computers, you're going through 1,000 a month. You don't have time for this. And they mentioned if it's worth it, one of the things they could do is they have a means to remove all this. They have their own technique. And then you can just use a vinyl wrap and just wrap it. Oh, that's true. However, you got to know what you're doing when it comes to putting on vinyl wrap, because otherwise it bubbles up. When it's done right, it looks really good. There's probably cars driving around your city that are vinyl wrapped and you don't even know. So that is an option, but that does cost more time and more money for something that's worth less than it was by far than when it was new. So why would you put all that time and effort into it unless you're just somebody sitting at home doing something for yourself? Trying to do that at $1,000 a month, you'll be lucky to get, I'd say at that rate, you'd be lucky to get 60 a month done by yourself. And that's if you're really working at it. And when it's all said and done, you're not going to get any more money for this than you will for this. So why would you put all that extra time and effort? So that's why I say doing this pretty much relegates it pretty much right to the recycler. So whatever that means, right? Not the landfill, but to the recycler that will just gut it for parts. So you're setting your equipment to an early death, a premature death. What are you going to do with it when you're done? You're basically making it unusable for anybody else to have it. It's yours to do with it, but if you care about the environment and then you do this, then you don't care about the environment. That's all I'm saying. I'm just calling out hypocrisy is all I'm doing. And I'm not saying that's you, but it's somebody. Okay. Now, I have no idea what this is other than, you know what? I can't even see who makes it. And that sticker, yeah, see how that's leaving behind a very thick adhesive. So they're all HPs today. And as you can see, where that Wonder Woman decal was, we still have the actual adhesive stuck to the laptop. And once we get this one off, we can work on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31, 32, 67, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. 42 more to go. Yeah. I don't think you could price this enough to make it worth my while to do that. Unless this was a super high-end computer, which I can tell you just by looking at it, based on its age alone. This wasn't high-end when it was new. It wasn't born high-end, and it didn't get any faster over time. So, oh, and we have a missing D key here. Now that could be a very easy fix. That could be something where you just go on eBay and we can either maybe just buy a key that clicks in there, or we can buy a whole keyboard, unless this whole piece is plastic melted. They're like little plastic rivets. On a lot of these HPs, you'll see that on a lot of cheaper computers, where the keyboard and this lid are all one piece, the trackpad, the keyboard. And yeah, you could get a soldering iron and melt each little plastic rivet. You've got to have about 30 or 40, 30 to 50 of them. And it's a lot faster to simply order a new lid, maybe even order a broken laptop off eBay. Or in Emerald's computer case, they might have another laptop with a cracked screen that's the same make and model, or has a compatible lid, and then you can use one for donor parts. But the more time you have to keep putting into this, and if you have to buy any parts off eBay, you're not increasing its resale value. At the most, you're going to put it back to practically giving it away. So if you have a lot of them to work with, this would immediately get set aside for the recycler. This is not going to have a second life. This is going to be completely ripped apart. Or you put it on a shelf in case you get another one that has a cracked screen and you use this one for donor parts. That's up to the recycler to determine if they are getting a popular model and how much space you've got to store stuff indefinitely for one day when you might need it. And even then, best case scenario, you've saved it, you know where it is, another one eventually comes in with a cracked screen, you still have the labor to take them both apart and do all the work, and it's still not worth any more than it was with regards to if it was in pristine condition. How much money do you think you can get out of a used laptop today in pristine condition, right? Given that it's about 4 or 5 years old and it was not top of the line when it came out, what do you think it's worth? So how much time does it make sense to put into that, especially when there's over 900 others waiting for your attention that might be just needing a software install and good to go? So you want to move those quickly, get those out, because they just depreciate every day. So at this point, if you can just get through the local drop off, and by the way, there'll be more dropped off tomorrow and more dropped off tomorrow and more dropped off tomorrow. And if you keep hiring more people to try and keep up, and those people are doing anything other than processing multiples an hour, then you're losing money and you're not going to stay in business. So somebody has to go through and separate instantly just by looking at it. This is a common model. We can use it for donor parts, or maybe somebody knows, hey, these are going for parts on eBay right now. They're really hot. Somebody knowledgeable in the industry, or otherwise just quickly sort through, this is potential to resell, this one does not. And I can tell you this has no potential to resell because of the stickers and because of that missing key. Now, for a home user looking for a little project, you might spend $300 or $400 just getting everything done, and plus your time and labor, and that assumes everything's working on it. And when you're done, you can't sell it for that much. No one will pay for it that much. But you might have fun, you know, bringing it back to life. But you can't do this at a full-scale operation, you know, where you have to crank out so many a month or so many a week. So let me plug this in and turn it on. I've got an HP power adapter here. And hopefully this will fit. So we don't even know this even turns on. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to face this towards me, only because I want to see if it's going to boot into Windows or if it's going to boot at all. You likely also have bad batteries on these older machines that need to be replaced. That's another cost, and oftentimes the batteries are worth more than the entire laptop, a brand new one. Sometimes you can pick up batteries like cheap Chinese batteries for like 40 or 50 bucks. And this does not appear to be giving us any signs of, well, did I unplug this? Hold on. I might have unplugged this. Yeah, I unplugged it. All right, let's get it plugged in. There we go. Let's try this again. Okay, so I am getting a blue power light. Something is happening. Let's see if we get any kind of, yeah, HP logo. And this says it's a Core i5. It's booting into an operating system. We'll turn it away from the camera. And yeah, this has an end user's name on it. And it looks like a child wearing a Wonder Woman outfit. So somebody's a big Wonder Woman fan. This might have been owned by a child. That explains the stickers. And a lot of times when people drop computers off for recycling, they don't know how to erase them. They don't know what the process is. They don't have the technical. Even if you told them how, it wouldn't make any sense. You'd be speaking another language. So what I'm going to do is I've got my Windows 11 disk media installer. Let me plug that in, and let's go to, let's see, should be a way to do this. Oh, there's my power button over there. Power, and restart. Wants to do an update and a restart. So at some point this was plugged into a network. They clearly didn't reset it properly, if they did reset it, because it still has a user account with a username on it. So let me get this to restart, and then we'll do, I don't know what the boot override is on this. I'll start pressing, I don't know, delete or F2 should get us into the BIOS. We can boot override to boot to our Windows 11 installer, and then we can install a nice clean installation of Windows 11. And that way we don't have to worry about, first of all, I'm not interested in any client data. I don't know what goes through people's minds, but unless you're a celebrity, unless you're a politician, somebody famous, people know who you are, then obviously they're going to want to try and get to your data. But if nobody knows who you are, your data is meaningless to them. Now, The hackers, on the other hand, the bad guys, what they'll do is they will encrypt your data. They don't want it. Nobody wants your stuff, man. It's only of value to you. And the hackers know this. And so what they'll do is they'll ransomware it, and they'll tell you if you want your data back, you've got to pay a certain amount of money by a certain amount of time. They have absolutely no, and I can't emphasize this enough, zero interest in what's on your hard drive. They do not care. Because you're not known. There's nobody to go to the press. They're not going to publish it in the newspaper. It's not a news item. And you're not wealthy. There's nothing to, you can't squeeze blood from a stone. So ultimately, they're in it to make money, and they're not going to make money from average folks like us. They need to go to people and corporations that are well known, that have a public reputation. So when people worry about, well, how can I trust you with my data? I don't care. Honestly, don't care. There's nothing on here I'm interested in. Nothing. There's nothing on your computer I could give two rats behinds about. You know, the internet is chock filled of all the information I ever wanted to look for. If I was looking for something salacious, I just Google it. It's a lot less effort. So anyway, you believe what you want to, but I'm just telling you. There might be some kids working in a mobile phone shop, you know, supposedly going through people's phones. It's kids. And I missed my opportunity, I suppose. I'm going to try this one more time. I did bring up the diagnostics. I didn't want to bring up the diagnostic screen. I wanted to get into the BIOS. So give me just a moment here. Gary Tatum saying F9. Frank Jimmy says it's escape. All right, well, we'll give it a shot here. The HP logo is still spinning. I'm assuming we're booting from the internal drive. And again, we don't know what the RAM is. We don't know the CPU. We don't know anything about this, but it does have a nice clean screen. It is missing the D key, which again might require an entire keyboard replacement. These aren't your standard snap-on keys. They're pretty specific to HP. It is a Core i5, whatever it is. That much we know. I think this is, yeah, I don't know what it's doing. It's taking a long time to boot back up. Maybe because there was some kind of update at some point that was waiting to install, that it's doing that now, I guess. I don't know. But I'm assuming we're going to see a desktop here. So I'm going to hold the power button in until the machine turns off. We'll turn that bad boy back on, and I'll try hitting escape. We'll see if that gets us anywhere. Escape brings up a startup menu. Then it says F9 for boot device options, so F9. And then it says, oh, there it is, SanDisk Extreme, enter. Now we're loading from the USB flash drive. And if I look for an HDMI port, let's see if we can feed this out, and you guys can watch it at that point, and we don't have to worry about invading anybody's privacy or trust. Let's see if that's going to work. If I go to HDMI input, you getting anything? Not yet. Okay, so what that tells me is this is a Windows driver that has to install for our HDMI. But what it's telling us here is we've booted from the flash drive, and it says it looks like you're trying to perform an upgrade, which I'm not trying to do. If you want to perform a clean installation, click no. So I'm going to click no. And now we're getting our regular Windows 11 setup. So select the language, English, next. Keyboard is US keyboard. I want to install Windows 11. I agree everything will be deleted. Yes. Says we're getting a few things ready. And again, I'm going to just keep checking back here on the, yeah, still no video signal. Here's our license agreement. And this is all the standard thing. You've seen me do this dozens and dozens of times, where we're just going to erase all of the current partitions so that disk 0 has nothing but unallocated space. So we'll come over here, and on disk 0, everywhere there's a partition, we select partition 1 and delete it. It looks like there's 4 partitions with unallocated space. So we're going to delete all 4 of these partitions one by one. There's the second one. We'll go to the third one. And finally, this last one. It's giving us a total amount of space of 1 terabyte. I'm assuming that's on an NVMe drive. I'm going to now select the single disk 0. That's all unallocated space. Click Next. It's going to show me a summary. This is what we're doing. And I hit the Install button to approve the process. And we're off to the races installing. So while we're waiting on that, take a look here in the chat. Thank you for your help, by the way, Frank, Jimmy, and Gary Tatum, on giving that little tip there to get into the BIOS, the boot options. And Doman 2000, appreciate you. Brad Revell says hello. Mortant joins us, says hello here in the chat. Greg Jimmy said replacing these HP palm rests with the keyboard is a lot of labor. All the internal components, motherboard, speakers, LCD, all have to be removed in order to get that keyboard in there. Yeah, that's why I say it might be something like, let's just say you were bored one day looking for something to do, or you're looking for a little project that you need to give to a relative, a friend, a child. You don't have a lot of money, or you're not going to spend a lot of money. The person that you're doing it for is either yourself as a little project hobby machine in your lab, or for somebody else that's not a real high-end user, and you're trying to do it as cheaply as possible. You got all the time in the world, and it sounds like fun. This would make sense, you know, perhaps in your scenario, as a fun project to figure out, can you replace that button, or can you get the lid, and probably replace the battery. We got a screen in good condition. Everything seems to work. Otherwise, maybe clean all of the bedazzling off the back of it and get some goof off. Or Jason at Emerald Computers says mayonnaise works to get. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you find that out. Are you eating when you're working and the sandwich drips and you wipe it up and you go, oh, it took off my adhesive? Or did somebody just watch a video and some TikToker said, oh, put mayo on it? I'm not sure. I see a lot of these short videos and they're like, a chef taught me this secret, and it's something so stupid. You're like, was the chef name Boyardee? Somebody says, a plumber taught me this secret. Was the plumber's name Super Mario? People do the dumbest things, and they'll say, you know, a doctor showed me this little secret. And it's like, was the doctor's name Dr. Seuss? Like, some of this stuff is so stupid. So I can't help but wonder, the thing with the mayo, maybe it's true, but how did they figure that out? And was it from watching one of those short videos where somebody goes, a computer technician taught me this secret to removing stickers? And you know, I'm trying to think of a name of a terrible computer technician, but I probably shouldn't name any names. Was that computer tech's name CareyHolzman? That's always a safe bet. Just be self-deprecating. We're still installing here, so Shouldn't take too long. Anyway, I'm skeptical, and I'm not going to waste mail. But the point is, this could make sense for somebody, but not in scale. So if there were 100 of these they had to get rid of, it would probably make more sense to pick the best out of the bunch that are just ready to go, and what's ever left over, see if you can't, if it might be worth your while to do some donor parts and get a few more going, depending on how much time and labor that takes. Remember, they're working at a big, big scale. 1,000 a month have to go out. That doesn't mean they're bringing in 1,000. That means they're bringing in no less than 1,000. So in order to keep up on average, I think he said maybe at the lowest 800 a month. So if you work that out 6 days a week, how many you've got to move per day? And that's just getting them out. That doesn't include the other half of the business that's bringing stuff in every day. And you never quite know day to day what might be coming in. Could be 1 or 2 things, could be 1 or 2 pallets. They do have a forklift and they do have a big box truck. I hear some tape over there.
Sorry.
I put Mara to work. We got to get those Nemo laptops boxed back up and sent out. We're done with those. Little mixed bag there where we had a couple of brand new laptops that were a couple years old that are just old inventory. And I wasn't real impressed with the quality of parts that were selected. On the other hand, they had a brand new model that just came out, and I thought that was a really good deal, great price. So it's not like I can tell you universally, you know, if you get a laptop from Nemo, it's going to be recommended by me. We've already figured that part out now, that we've got to pay attention to which models we're buying, and if we're buying something new, or if we're buying something that but it still may be new, but not recently released. It could have been released over a year ago, just sitting on a shelf. And it looks like we got a mixed bag with a little of both. So do pay attention to what you're paying for. Regardless, you know, Nemo pays for any return shipping. So even if you don't do your research and you end up with something you're not happy with, they do take full responsibility, the full return period, and pay for the shipping cost. So they're not trying to get away with anything. It is up to the buyer to do a modicum of understanding what they're buying. But yeah, that's what the tape noise is back there. She's getting those packaged back up.
All right, all done.
And we're at 54% on our install here, so hopefully not too much longer. Then we can determine exactly which CPU, how much RAM, and how much storage this has. And depending on how much time this takes, we have 2 others to inspect. Even Jason has no idea what the status of these laptops are. They could be 100% fine. They could be busted. They could have bad batteries. They could have missing components inside. We don't know. And that's why this can take a really long time. If you're trying to do this at the level Emerald Computer is doing it, you're going to need a lot of employees. At the same time, you're not going to make a lot of money off of these. So those employees need to be cranking out as many machines as possible every day. One way or the other, whether they're something they need to refurbish or something that needs to go into a pile for, say, a laptop recycler versus an aluminum or metal recycler, all that gets separated out. And then somebody else has to arrange for the delivery or pickup of the recycled materials. And as that's going out, probably more stuff is coming in at the same time or same day anyway, that's going to have to be gone through. And they just don't know. Needless to say, I think they got some job security for a while. As long as the cost of taking it in is less than the cost of whatever labor and time and reselling can bring in to pay all the bills, the rent, the employees, the electricity, etc. That is a scale too big for me to, like, if you asked me if I could do that, I'd say no. I can't see how I could sustain that business. But Jason's been doing it now for like 20 years, a little over 20 years. And he's obviously got a better business sense than I do. Kelly Stewart said, I was hoping you didn't have something shorting out. But wouldn't, oh, you're talking about the streamer or the laptop? Because on the laptop, it wouldn't matter. There's more laptops over there than you can shake a stick at. There's nothing special about this one. It just happened to be within my reach. Yeah, he's got whole crates just filled with Chromebooks and laptops, just stacked. He's got entire pallets of just power adapters thrown in a box. You just have to start fishing through the one you're looking for. Jim Kenny said, I like the new streamer. It's got just the right amount of RGB. I think so too. Thank you. Yes. Paul Vercher says hello. Welcome in, Paul. Matthew Burden joining us. Says hello in the chat. Scott says, yeah, that'll be something to do when it's snowing outside. Well, that explains a lot. You know, the last time it snowed outside in Phoenix, Arizona, I think it was 1982 for one day. And the snow rested on the ground for about 15 minutes as a light coating over the grass, and then it was just gone. So you had 15 minutes to get a photograph and say, look, snow in Phoenix. Frank Jimmy said that laptop likely has a hard drive. If it was an SSD, the Windows install would have been done by now. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. We're at 60% complete, 6-0. It is what it is. It's fine. And remember, these are things to consider. So let's say, for example, we're trying to save some money. Now, I showed you those Nemo laptops that even the ones that I said, well, these are old inventory, they weren't this old. So if you're able to, let's say, you know, because nothing really has a set price there at Emerald Computers, and you're just going to buy one, and you're driving over there, and you walk through the warehouse, and you're like, I want this one right here. You have no idea what you're buying. Now, he'll let you power it up there and check it out. That's no problem. And you say, how much would you sell this to me for? And Jason's going to look at it. He's going to look at the model. He's going to look at the chip. He's going to look at the condition. He's going to come up with a number. And you might say, well, you know, I think that's a little much. Or you might say, deal. I don't know, right? And you guys work that out between the two of you. Every laptop's different, so however he comes to his numbers, I think he has sort of a boilerplate. If it's this spec, if it's this generation, it starts at this price. So let's say you get a screaming deal. Let's say he says, I'll tell you what, I'll sell you this for 60 bucks. Let's just say $50. A screaming deal, right? But then you have to spend another $50 on a battery. Maybe you have to spend $40 or $50 or even $30 on a keyboard, which requires this whole panel. On top of that, you've got to reinstall Windows. You're going to have to download and resupply the drivers to this when you're done. If it's got a mechanical drive, you're probably going to want to switch that to a solid state drive. Maybe you've got one laying around that you can use, or maybe you need to go and buy one for 40 or 50 bucks. Before you know it, you're into this more than a brand new Nemo laptop, which would be under warranty. You wouldn't require any of this labor or work, and is going to be overall just better condition. You don't have to go looking through a warehouse trying to locate something. It'll come right to your front door, open the box. It's all, 90-day return policy with Nemo. And then whoever it is you're helping, or whatever purpose the laptop's going to serve for you, you can immediately put to work in that purpose. So that's the downside, is that oftentimes when you want to do things yourself, at some point it can take 3 times longer and cost 3 times more financially than either paying somebody to do it or simply starting over from scratch. But every single laptop in that place is different. Sure, there's probably some off-lease or school laptops, there's a batch that are all the same, right? That's probably some of that. But a lot of it's just onesie, twosie stuff, and it just varies day by day. What's there one day may not be there the next, but the next day there might be something there that was never there before. And the only way you're going to know is you have to go in there and you have to search for it. It's a little like archaeology. There could be some fossils in there that are worth a lot of money. On the other hand, you know, it depends on what you're looking for, because he does have some vintage computers there too, which for me anyway is a complete waste of time. But there are people that want to put together vintage computers, and by vintage I mean they're from the 1990s, early 90s or before. So anything more than about 20 years old. All right, we're doing our first reboot right now. And I'm hoping when his system comes back up with a Windows interface that will activate the HDMI port. So we'll find out here shortly. So for many people, it's fun. Now, for the cost of fun, yeah, it might be a good deal. I mean, Disneyland can cost nearly $200 per ticket, and you're not you get nothing to take home for that price. That's just you getting a ticket to walk in. And once you're in, if you want to eat, that costs more money. If you want souvenirs, that costs more money. And if you want to try and hold on to those souvenirs where you wait for an hour and a half to get into a line to get on a ride, where did the souvenirs go? Well, you can rent a locker to save the souvenirs somewhere so you're not carrying them all over the park. When you're all said and done, you're probably looking several $100s per person. So if you got a family of 4, especially if you're staying at the hotel, you're going to be staying at a hotel anyway, right? If you're traveling, whether it's a Disney property or you're staying a few miles off the property to a less expensive one, a day at Disneyland will probably set you back at a family for 4 somewhere around $2,000. $1,500 to $2,000, I would say is average. But that might be worth it for that day of entertainment or that day of waiting in long lines. You'll never be able to get on all the rides because there's just not enough hours in the day for how long the lines are, unless you want to pay extra money for the fast pass. Anyway, if that's what you do for fun, this is a lot cheaper. In which case, this doesn't seem so bad anymore. But it doesn't make financial sense in that at a certain point, it's just faster to buy something newer, under warranty, and it's cheaper. But it may not be as fun. Now, they do have a variety of machines at Emerald Computers. They're not all old budget machines, though many of them are. There are some machines that may only be 2 years old, maybe 3 years old, and they're still very good machines. And obviously, they're going to want to recycle those and basically give them a second life themselves because there's money in that. And that can help pay for the rest of the operation, quite frankly. At the same time, somebody smart enough to shop there realizes you can get a machine that's pretty high-end, good gaming computer that's just a couple years old, and pay a third of the price than what it would cost you to buy a modern one new. In that case, it's the complete opposite. So instead of spending 3 times more, you're spending a third as much, especially when you're comparing newer processors. So 15th gen, 14th gen, 13th gen, 12th gen, 11th gen, they all pretty much run the same, pretty much. Maybe a 10% difference tops between them. It's not like the old days where 3 years made a massive difference in performance, reliability, efficiency. No, not anymore. Those older computers definitely have more value today than they did. But, well, like anything else, to a certain limit. Brad says, I'll take the PC any day over Disney. Yeah, you and me both. But, you know, I'm not 12 years old anymore, so. When I was there as a kid, my parents were paying for it. It was a lot more fun. If I was tall enough to get on the rides. That's another problem. Oh, Kelly Stewart, he was saying we didn't have anything shorting out when he heard the tape. He thought the sound of the tape coming off of the roll was maybe an electrical short. I gotcha. I gotcha. %42 on the install. While I'm waiting, this camera is just not lined up correctly, so I'm going to make a little adjustment since we're just waiting. Of course, if you have questions for me, they're always welcome. Let's see, we'll go a little bit that way. Maybe a little tilt. Let's see. Tilt it right about, I think there. I feel like I got to come back a little. Yeah. That'll be good until I touch it. And then I'll knock it a little bit off. Okay. Where are we at? 42%. Hasn't budged. That's the other thing. You know, we could have cooling issues. This thing may have never been cleaned, so if it was kept in a dusty atmosphere, depending on how it was treated, whether it was kind of taken care of, or if it was beaten around and thrown in a backpack and taken back and forth to school or work. The inside of this, we don't know. We'd have to open it up, take a look. But we can at least know if that's worthwhile by doing a little research with regards to the cost of replacing that key or the whole lid. How much RAM we have, which we can find out, which processor we have, which we can find out, and what hard drive and what size we have, which we can find out once Windows loads, using CPU-Z or Crystal Disk Info without having to open the whole thing up. You're not going to be opening this up and inspecting it at Emerald Computers. That's not going to work. However, if you want them to examine something and get back to you another day on it, I'm sure they can put it on their to-do list. That's between you and them to work out. More than likely, you'll be too impatient. You're going to want it right now. You take it home. If you decide that it's just not worth fixing, that's the gamble you're going to take. You can always drop it back off to recycle it, but they're not paying for you to drop it back off. But they won't charge you anything to take it back either. So that's the joy of recycling, really. It's very labor intensive. It pays very little. So it's got to be a labor of love, because you're not likely going to get rich. It's not, what do you call that? It's not a passive income like you bought some stock and then you sit back and wait for the money to roll in. You have to get up and go to work every day and just try not to get buried underneath the pile of new stuff that arrives every day. And hopefully you can process more of it going out of the building, whether it's sold or going to a scrapyard or wherever it's going for recycling, in order to have room in your warehouse to bring in some more. It never stops. And he takes everything, not just computers. He's got big screen TVs. He's got CRT monitors. He's got game consoles. He's got DJ mixing boards. If it plugs in, if it's electric, he takes it, as far as I know. Okay, we're installing 94%. We're just about there. I still don't think we're going to have video. Nope, no video yet. Dublin 2000s mentions, yeah, you can have a bootable disk that you could boot to. Sure. That's another way to do it. Just make your own bootable USB. If you're interested in that, you could also just pull up the specs on the serial number, like for Dell's, HP's, Lenovo's. You go to their website, just type in the serial number, and it'll tell you the specifications of that particular machine, that very specific machine, and how it was configured out of the factory. And assuming nobody's changed it, that's what you should expect to see. That's a pretty quick way to get through that as well. So hopefully we're just about here at the out-of-box experience. But I think you're right. I think this is probably a mechanical drive. And just as a reminder, they, over at Emerald Computers, they don't put a customer's hard drive back out to the public. Once it comes into the building, it only goes to the scrapyard to be recycled properly. Any computer that goes out with a brand new drive. And I think there's two reasons for that. One is obviously you don't want to have any lawsuit on your hands with regards to letting somebody's data get out. It seems unlikely, but still, it's at scale at 1,000 a month, your odds of that happening pretty high up there. But also because of warranty. It'd be nothing worse than selling somebody something like this, even cheap, and it's really slow because it's a mechanical drive. And then to have that mechanical drive fail as soon as they bring it home, they're going to be upset, right? You sold me something, it worked for a day. And mechanical drives in particular are one of the most single common components that will fail on a computer, not if, it's when. So by eliminating that, putting in a faster drive, they're cheap enough, fresh install of Windows, then you're on a new drive, it never had any client data, you're covering all your bases that way. And I think that's a really smart policy. Not the cheapest policy. I mean, clearly somebody's paying for all this, right? It's built into the price. But they are doing it in bulk, so they're probably paying a lot less for drives than you and I are. All right, now I see the Windows screen loading. Am I getting anything over here yet? Still nothing. Interesting. Okay. We'll come over here. We'll say United States. US keyboard. Hold on. Let me just turn this around because it's really hard for me to see it. US keyboard, secondary keyboard, no, no, no. It's pulling up the Wi-Fi. I'll click I don't have internet. I have to tell it twice. Oh, I don't. Went right to the username. I'll put user, enter, blank password. And then, of course, on the privacy settings, I turn location on. That is going to set the date and time because you might have a bad CMOS battery too. You can add that to your list of things to refurbish. Add it to your cost and your time. So again, depending on what you're working with and the state of it, what you're willing to do and what you're willing to spend, there's no right answer for anybody. It's the same challenge. If you want to, I'm going to call it a game. If you want to play this game, if you're watching this, you go, that looks like fun, that's a game. If you're looking to make money, it's very different. So it's when you want to play baseball with your friends at the park on a weekend on a whim, versus if you're playing in minor leagues or the major leagues, the attitude of the players is there's a lot more at stake. Careers, being able to pay bills. If you're in minor leagues, maybe you don't make much money, but you have that potential. If you work really, really hard, maybe someday you'll be selected to play in the major leagues. This suddenly isn't just let's go to the park and play. All right, it's just for fun. It's easy. It's relaxed. There's no stress. There's no pressure. It's just hanging out. So there's going to be two very different attitudes on the perspective of the person that's interested in this. You may be interested as a way to make money, because you might say, well, what if I did all that and then I could flip it on a profit? I would admire you if you could do that, because what that would require you to do to have fun and then flip it as a profit when you're done is to start with something that doesn't need much work. To start with something that you've already done your research, you go on eBay or whatever, start looking for what these things sell for when there's nothing wrong with them. Then you got to calculate in how much commission will eBay take, how much will the shipping cost me, and then what happens if a person sends it back or it gets damaged in shipping, or you're dealing with a scammer who then says, oh, you sold me something broken, and what they did is they opened it up, took the part out they needed, put their bad part in it, and then left you a negative feedback and complaint to eBay. Or you say, oh, I'm only going to sell it locally on Craigslist or Facebook. You got to take pictures of it, write up a description, deal with a lot of tire kickers just wasting your time. Whatever it is you're asking for it, they're going to lowball you. I want $500 for it. I'll give you 25 cents. After a while, it's like, is this worth it anymore? So if you can do all that and you can turn a profit, I bow to you because that's a lot of work. All right, we are up at the desktop right now, and we have no internet connection right now. So what I want to try and do one more time, let's see if we can get to this screen here. It should work, and it's still not working. So my only other concern is if I have the wrong input selected. So I just want to double check real quick. It's definitely the right input. My only other concern is, do I have it plugged in all the way? Let me plug the cable back in, see if that does anything. Still no HDMI. That's pretty interesting to me, because normally at this point we would get the video, the HDMI video port working. However, it is HP, and maybe there are some drivers that need to be installed. So we'll probably get the majority of those from Windows Update, quite honestly. So let me go ahead and remove my Windows 11, my installer, and let's plug in an Ethernet cable. And we'll let it start downloading updates. And then maybe that HDMI port will start working. So I'll give that a second to recognize the Ethernet connection and negotiate with the router. There it goes. Then we'll go to Windows Update. Yeah, the brightness controls aren't working either. The screen seems a little dim to me, so I'm going to guess that's driver related. So we're going to hit Windows Update. A lot of the big name manufacturers like Dell, HP, Lenovo work directly with Microsoft, so that it wouldn't surprise me if we got every driver we needed right through Windows Update. I'm going to go ahead and turn auto updates on while we're here. It's checking for updates right now. And then I go under advanced options and I turn on the option to receive updates for other Microsoft products to keep me up to date and to notify me when a restart is ready to go. So if I come back here and I turn it this way, you can see we're just checking for updates right now. And it's just scanning like a Cylon's eyeball going back and forth here. So we'll give that a moment. And while that's doing that, let's take a look at our system properties. I'll right click on the start menu and we go to System. Okay, this is a Core i5-8265U. That means it is Windows 11 compatible, which makes sense since I just installed Windows 11. Duh. Oh yeah, it's got 8 gigs of RAM. It's going to be DDR4 probably. The drive, rather, the storage drive is, let's take a look. We'll go to the C drive, right click, go to Properties. I'm just waiting for the Windows Explorer to open. It's just now slowly populating all the icons. Click on this PC. Okay, it's a 1 terabyte C drive. And the C drive properties, we go under the Hardware tab. And it says the C drive is a Toshiba MQ04ABF100. So yeah, that's probably a mechanical spinner, a rust bucket. Let me go back to Windows Updates. And we are getting a ton of updates right now. So what would we do to fix it? Well, We got to get all the stickers off of it and get it all cleaned up. Then we have to get a new key or keyboard. Then we have to remove the drive and replace it with a solid state drive, whether that's a 2.5-inch SATA. Anything will be better than what it has. They're pretty inexpensive, but still you have to open it up, take it apart, get to that. With just 8 gigs of RAM, it's okay, but it'd be better at 16. If you're going to get in there anyway, it's another 30 bucks or something. Maybe not even that for, you know, either a 16 gig module or 2 8s, whatever, you know, if you want to match another 8. Maybe you've got some of the stuff laying around anyway, and you don't have to buy any of it other than perhaps the keyboard. We'd want to probably inspect the heat sinks. I don't think thermal paste needs to be done. I think it's a waste of time. Most of your majority of your cooling is affected by the fans and anything blocking the fans from dust and lint and other things in the heat sinks themselves. Yes, you can improve your cooling by maybe 2 or 3 degrees if you want to tear apart the thermal compound, but to me, for 2 or 3 degrees, it's not worth it. And it's especially less important on an older machine like this. Just put myself back here a little bit. I want to try and keep an eye on this to see when this HDMI becomes active here. Maybe what I can do is just go like that, and then we'll wait and see for the background. And I'm assuming I have this all plugged in correctly. I'm pretty sure I do. Should be port 3 and port 3. Driver related problem, and I'm just being impatient. We can tell. I just want to leave a little bit of the black border there so we can watch for that screen to appear. All right. Roosmere joins us in the chat. Welcome in. Good to see you. Andy says he's enjoying his TerraMaster F4 424. Right on. Larson said his computer's 9 years old. He's never replaced the thermal compound. Yeah, it's something enthusiasts do. Home users never do that. Unless the home user is an enthusiast, it isn't done. And yet somehow their computers run for years. But that's YouTube for you. Now, in a perfect world, like if we were working at Emerald Computers, we wouldn't be sitting here watching this. If you go back and you look at the video of their tech area, they have a long bench, and they will set these laptops up, boom, 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 right in a row. So while this one's doing this, we start on this one. And we get through that one, we get it processing something, move to the next one. And eventually, you know, whenever this is done, it could be sitting and waiting. It could be done an hour ago, but we've been busy over here. Then we work our way back to the other end of the bench and click restart, come over here, and maybe that one's restarting, come back over here. And that's how you're able to work at a higher scale and get more done per day. You have to be able to juggle multiple things at the same time. And that includes, even if you've got one torn apart, that you have it torn apart in a way that you can remember how to put it back together. If you've got 2 or 3 torn apart right next to each other, you keep your parts separate, got to remember how they all go back together. And if you postpone and go, I'll finish it tomorrow, there's a good chance you won't remember where did this piece go, right? Because you're working on so many different pieces of hardware. It's probably not in your best interest to leave something disassembled, depending on what it is and your experience and your comfort, if it's a particular model you've seen a lot of. But again, this is just a whole lot of everything. They do get pallets of off-lease where everything is exactly the same. And of course, you'll be used to, when you're working on that batch, they'll all be the same. So it's up to the technician to decide if that's a good idea or not to leave it disassembled by the end of the day. For me, it would not be a good idea. Now, when I worked in corporate America, they were all using basically 3 laptops. So after a while, you just know them blindfolded. They're going to be one of 3. So somebody once brought me a box, a cardboard box. They spilled something in their laptop and they tried fixing it themselves, and they couldn't figure out how to put it back together. So they said, "Can you fix this for me?" And I think the ticket said, "Can you fix a laptop?" And I'm like, yeah, bring me the laptop. And they brought me a box of laptop parts. I'm like, that's not how this is supposed to work. Employees are not authorized to open that laptop. And luckily, because I'm so familiar with them, it was like, yeah, I put it back together. I wasn't happy about it. So you can imagine if this had an older version of Windows 11 and it needed to upgrade to 24H2, just how long that process would be. Because this is just doing driver updates and then the updates from the latest Windows 11 media installer, which we do here on the channel all the time. It could take about 20 minutes, but this is going to take a lot longer just based on the fact that it's so slow. Plus, we're getting all the additional drivers, and just having 8 gigs of RAM combined with that mechanical drive is a recipe for, well, for a low price when it's new. And the cheaper it was when it was new, the less it's worth putting any time and effort in to try and repair it, even if it's only a year old. In most cases, they're not even the cost of when they were new. Once they go out of warranty, when you're at that lowest level of budget machine, at that point, if you have to put a nickel into it, it's too much. If the machine is broken out of warranty and it was a budget machine to begin with, it's cheaper and faster to go buy another budget machine, because that budget machine will be faster than your last one, even if it was just a year ago. But if you bought a high-end computer, say an i7, i9, this one's an i5, it's not terrible. It's just above budget by that much. And then it depends how old it is and how much has to be replaced and how much time you want to put into it. Because again, you keep falling back to, you can get so much more for less money and have it right now. You don't have to do all the work. So that's for each individual to decide, but do set your expectations accordingly. The rules of the economics don't change for you. They're the same for you as they are for me. You just may have more of something than I have, or you're not working at a scale. You just have one thing and I've got dozens and dozens of things, right? So that part of it changes, and that's for each individual to determine on their own. Luke Greenius says that Nook is more appealing to the eye. It really fits better on the workbench. Yeah, thanks, Luke. It's also, it's a lot smaller. A lot smaller. And the video quality doesn't change. You guys at home can't tell the difference. So, and I bought it for that reason, and I've been sitting on it for 2 or 3 years. I just haven't gotten to it. And I had already configured it as a streamer, but as an emergency backup. But now that I've had some experiences building them myself and the size of them, and I don't need as much power as I'm building. For streaming, it doesn't take much. So I have finally said, whenever I made that decision, I was smarter. I've gotten dumber because I let it sit there. I was looking at it every day. I had it sitting right in front of me like, you might want to start using this. And it's one of the first things I brought over here to Studio C last August. Or was it September?
No, it was last August, and it's been sitting here just staring at me every single day. It's not like I can't see it, so I forgot about it. No, I've seen it every day since we've been in Studio C. Nah, I'll still build a machine. All right, I think I got that out of my system now, and I'm ready to embrace the decision I made a couple of years ago. And yeah, I'm happy with it. Glad you like it. Justin Fuller joins us and says hello. There's Bob R saying hello along with Jim Kenny. Screen keeps going to sleep on me, I guess because power settings. So slow. Very slow. Another reason the machine will be slow right out of the gate is if it's missing those drivers. Without the drivers installed for the chipset and controllers, it can absolutely impede performance significantly. So after you kind of bite the bullet and wait for these updates, it's quite possible that when it reboots, things become a lot snappier. Especially on the older machines, those drivers can make a hell of a difference. I mean, just look at what a driver can do for a graphics card. It can make a world of difference. And I selected to bring up the power settings, but it's just sitting here chewing away at the update while I'm trying to bring up the power settings at the same time, and it's struggling to handle those very simple tasks. There it goes. It's just now populating here. And I will tell it not to turn off the display. So I've selected my option and it's just sitting there. So here's a scenario where you're like, okay, what do? We have a machine that's technically fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's mostly aesthetic problems and using components that are just, budget components. What a shame to send that to be melted down effectively, but happens every day. You have a perfectly good working machine, but by today's standards, it's intolerable to use. The amount of time and effort it would take for you to make it tolerable exceeds the value of the machine to the point where you could buy a brand new machine, potentially, for the same or less money without any of the labor with a warranty that'll be faster. It's a crazy world. Okay, save changes. I want that sleep mode or the monitor powering off. I want that timeout to be extended to 3 hours. And it's just the icons just circling after I click the save changes button. You just have to wait. There, it finally did it. And that's certainly making the updates take longer as well. It doesn't help when you have these background tasks running here. Close that out. And yeah, we're not getting, so far, we still don't get any video. So I don't even think it's getting to the drivers yet. I think it's doing Windows updates first. And then all these drivers updates, they all say pending. Oh, it's a touchscreen. Look at that. It all says pending install all the way through. These are all drivers, screen after screen of drivers. And these are going to be pretty small downloads and pretty fast installs. But it has to get through the biggest ones first. I don't know why Microsoft's doing that. So we can add a touchscreen onto the value of this. That may make it worth more to part it out on eBay. And I've got to say, 2025 is proving to be a very interesting year in that regard. Even a brand new computer If I build a brand new machine and I sell it at cost, nobody's interested. What I am more likely going to hear is, I could buy all those parts myself and put it together myself. So why would I buy it from you? Even for the same price. How does that make sense? Well, because I ordered everything, I threw out all the boxes, I built it, configured it, cabled it, installed Windows on it, and I'm not charging for that. They're like, yeah, but you're not giving me a discount either. Well, no, I'm just trying to cover my cost. I'm giving you the time and the labor and the testing for free, the disposal of all the boxes, testing all the components, sending anything back that's bad, making sure all the components go together. No, I can do that myself. So, turns out in 2025, at least here in America, if I take a computer that I've spent all this time and effort on and undo the work, bring it back down to individual components. There's the motherboard, there's the CPU, there's the RAM, there's the storage, there's the case, there's the power supply. There's a very good chance I can earn back more than it cost me for the parts, especially motherboards. Older motherboards, if they're just a year or two old, they just don't make them anymore and somebody needs that board, you can still buy CPUs. You can buy 10th gen CPUs all day long, brand new on Amazon. But finding a motherboard like a B560 motherboard or something, good luck. They're going to be very expensive. So to me, it's bizarre that I can earn more money, even if it's not what I paid, by selling the individual parts than by selling it all, with all the labor and work done. It's crazy. So I don't know if that's the new normal or if that's just temporarily where we're at in the economy right now. So again, we've got the black border around the screen because I want to see if this shows up, if this screen does show up, and when that happens during the driver installs here. And while we're waiting, let me go grab a cold Gatorade here. And if you have any questions for me, please ask now. We try to keep these around 2 hours. I don't know that we're going to get through this one, let alone the other two. But I don't feel like we need to open it up and look at it. I mean, we know this is going to need a faster drive and probably another 8 gigs of RAM. These are not mine. I'm just borrowing these from Emerald. So I'll make a note on it. I'll write down all the specs. I'll put a post-it note on it. And at least I can save them a little bit of work. The drive's been erased, and you know, everybody should be happy with at least, at nothing more, they can verify the results. They won't reuse the drive regardless. It'll come out and be destroyed or recycled, however they do that. So I don't need to securely erase it as long as it's, you know, the basic part of it's gone. David Graham said that laptop is decent to be scrapped. I see no value in it. Yeah, but somebody else might say, hey, I could turn that into a little Proxmox server or something, you know? Wouldn't have to do much to it. I wouldn't care if it was slow. It'd be fine and just for what I need it for. That's why I say it's for each person to kind of decide on their own. And with the variety to pick from, you know, at Emerald Computers. Based on how much money you want to spend and what purpose it is you want the laptop to serve. Or desktops, they've got a little bit of everything. They've got a lot of bit of everything. John Lewis said that's a nice CPU. That's a third quarter 2018 release date. With an SSD, it'd be quite quick in my world. Yeah, and John joins us from Brazil, so they may have the electronics that are maybe priced a bit more towards the average salary there too. I don't know. Frankie B says, I'm loving the way that Nook looks. Good job, Carey. Right on. Thanks, Frankie. I am just frustrated at how long this is taking for this stupid update. But what can you do? Again, I want to remind you that this is not normally the way the work is done. Normally, we set something up like this, and we move to the next thing. And then we don't care how long this takes. This isn't even out of sight, out of mind. It's off to the side. We work on the next thing. If we were to do that now, and I started looking, like I have so much limited space here, but like this red one, and that's all that attracted me to it is, oh, it's red. I don't see too many red laptops. We have no stickers on this identifying what make or model. Like I said, a lot of times there'll be a sticker with a serial number or a tag. Somebody has opened this up. There's supposed to be a rubber foot. The rubber foot's been removed. And there are missing screws back here. In fact, I don't think there's a screw in here. Well, there's another way to check besides the serial number. We do it the old-fashioned way and actually look at it with our eyeballs. Oh, somebody's looked at this. Load slow, freezes, good battery. Okay, there you go. Let's see. Load slow, freezes, good battery. What do you think that's being caused by? This is interesting. We have one RAM module with no second module. Normally, right here would be this same plastic piece facing the opposite way with metal clips. And there's a space on the circuit board for that, but it's an option. And this one was not equipped with. So single channel RAM, relatively small battery. Usually we're used to the batteries running the length of the keyboard, but that just means you're going to have a less of a battery life. We have a mechanical drive here, and this mechanical drive, let's see what this drive is. It's upside down, so we have to unscrew it. Again, you could just turn it on, you know, and look at it that way, but I only have the one power brick, so I'm just making do, biding my time. Either way, I'm still getting more done. We have a Wi-Fi card here with a single antenna, which is bizarre. This is really freaky. They've got these connectors on an angle. I've never seen that before. It looks like somebody was making it up as they go. That cable, that connector, is on an angle. And then it crosses over like an X, goes over this other cable, and that connector is cattywampus. and it's soldered to the board intentionally that way. Weird. So yeah, Wi-Fi there. It looks like there was a place here potentially for an optical drive at one point. Maybe. There's something missing. Likely was an option on this laptop that they had different tiers. Something, maybe a cooling fan went in there at some point. I don't even see a cooling fan on this, quite frankly. These are vents right here. So does that mean somebody took the fan out, or does that mean this laptop never had a fan? I don't know the answer to that. But out of curiosity, what is this drive? This is about as simple as they get, folks. Pretty bare. Not much you can do. Wow. This whole circuit board that this drive plugs into is held onto the circuit board below it with one screw. So when I move the drive, the whole circuit board moves. Okay, let's take a look at the drive. Step it up over here. Western Digital Blue 500 gig drive. But if you look closely, you'll likely see a manufacturing date somewhere on here. Made in Thailand. Somewhere on the label, there's often a date. Not always, but often. And sometimes it's not real obvious because it's a lot of information that's all being kind of crowded in there. The 2nd of February, the 3rd of February 2021, written just above Made in Thailand. It's not that old, but it's still a piece of junk. It was a piece of junk when it was new. They should have been using solid state drives. When you have old inventory, if you're a big manufacturer like HP, how do you get rid of it? You build the cheapest thing you can build. You know you've got customers that are just looking at price. Get rid of it. It's like a hot potato. Let somebody else take it. This is so bizarre to have this big open area where I expect to see a fan. And what I don't know is, was there a fan here and somebody took it out? Or is this just the way it was made? So a drive like this, being able to take that out, I can erase this drive securely. I've got a drive sanitizer that'll clean that right up. That's something, it's a standalone device called the drive erasure. I've shown it here on the channel before. I plug it into the wall, I plug the drive in, I hit to do a quick erase, which is, it's not a Department of Defense level, but it's enough nobody's going to get anything back. And it'll run for maybe an hour or two. And I just let it run off to the side. I don't have to plug it into a computer. And when it's done, it's just like it was brand new out of the box. So the RAM module here, I'll show you this. Stay. Four gigs. That could be a problem. And I don't know what CPU we have in here. Without a model number, without a serial number, I have no idea. Even though we can look at the circuit board number that may indicate a family of processors. It may not be specific to the one we have. Like, I don't even know a model of this laptop. I got nothing. No information. We have an HT03XL battery that's dated January of 2021. So that battery, just by date alone, will not hold a charge very long, if at all. Doesn't matter if it's ever been used. That's the way batteries are. Go buy yourself a package of batteries at the store, put them on a shelf, and don't use them for 10 years. You're going to have some bad batteries brand new out of the package. Same with your car. Doesn't matter if you drive your car a lot or a little bit. Your battery has to be replaced regularly regardless. And car batteries usually go when the weather changes. So if you're going from summer to winter, that weather change is when your battery, if it's going to fail, that's likely when it happens. Or you're going out of winter into summer and the days are getting hotter, and that's often when a failing battery finally exposes itself. We're still installing over here. We're still pending install and everything else. So right now it's installing the Windows malicious software removal tool. It's still downloading this cumulative update. This is going to be a while. This is painful. I have to imagine with a system configured with a mechanical drive like this, that we're looking at something very, very budget. Because if this was built in 2021, you and I both know we were building machines here 4 years ago that were eye-wateringly quick. Oh, I finally do have, look at this. You guys can help me out. If you go to HP support, you can look up that model number, or even better, that serial number. And that should tell you exactly what this is and how it was equipped out of the factory. Notice it's got a 1-year warranty on it. When you bought something this cheap, the minute it breaks out of warranty, I can tell you this laptop would not even be worth taking a look at. If you were to bring this into Geek Squad, the cost to diagnose this is probably half of its cost when it was new. So the best thing you could do is just, instead of diagnose it, have them show you the aisle where the laptops are. Go get yourself another one if that's what you want to do. But on this one, I think what's holding it up mostly is the mechanical drive. Even though the 8 gigs of RAM is not a lot, it shouldn't be like this. It's been such a long time since I booted from a mechanical drive. This is like bamboo under the fingernails to me. This is one of those things where I would set this to go ahead and download, and I could not be around it because I'll just keep looking at it, driving myself crazy. So I'd say, hey, let's go run some errands. Let's go to the grocery store. Let's go out to eat. Just let this thing run. Come back home, it'll probably still be running. I don't care. Now, if I wanted any of this, I could say to Jason over at Emerald Computers, hey, I want to buy one of these. I think I can refurbish this and make me a deal. And so that's another thing that's in the back of my mind. Is this something, these units, they're just sitting there. Jason over at Emerald Computers hasn't gotten to these units yet, and they're stacked with top of units on top of units on top of units. In fact, if I never gave these back to Jason, he probably would not even complain. He'd probably say, you want to take some more home? There's less stuff I got to deal with. Obviously, I don't want them. I'm going to give them back, and he'll take them. But I am hopeful that I can at least give him a little bit of information or his techs, so that when they go to evaluate these, I've done, I hope, most of the work for them. And then they can sort through that faster and get more done that day. Patrick said he paid extra in 2017 to get the extended 4-year Geek Squad protection. Though at the time, family was like, make sure you get the protection. I'm going to try when I replace the HP Omen to not get protection on the next one. For me, it's about how much are you putting into it. So if I'm buying a $3,000 laptop, I'm getting the protection for sure. If I'm buying a $300 laptop, absolutely not. So the question is for you, where is the line that you want to protect your investment? Depends what the warranty is. A Nemo laptop comes with a 2-year warranty. You can add an extra year for $39.99. I kind of feel like we're talking about a scenario here with warranty, most warranties that affect only manufacturer defect, not you dropping it or spilling something on it. Because in many cases, warranty won't apply. Sometimes those extended warranties from Geek Squad will cover accidental damage, but it depends on the contract. Extended warranties are big profit items. I mean, imagine they're basically selling you nothing, a piece of paper. And most people are never ever going to use it. Some people that try to use it will be declined because they didn't meet some of the terms or conditions. But if I were buying an extended warranty specifically from the manufacturer, like not Geek Squad, if I'm buying a laptop from Samsung and Samsung says, do you want to extend your warranty? Yes, yeah. I mean, I will definitely consider that, much more so because it's coming from the manufacturer and they're reputable. Just like Nemo's warranty is through Nemo. You're not going through a third party. Same with a car warranty. I'm not going to buy a car warranty. Are you out of your mind? Now, if I have a very expensive car that's always breaking down, like a Mercedes, and it's very expensive to fix, out of warranty, and the dealership is selling me the warranty, and that's the dealership I'll be taking it to for service, and I spent a lot of money on that car, yeah. But at Hyundai, no. See what I'm getting at? So in some cases, extended warranties make sense if the item is expensive. If it's cheap, who cares? Just buy another one in the odd chance that it fails. Some people will say, oh, it failed a week out of the warranty. Like they designed it that way on purpose. They're not that good. It just happens, so what? That's the same risk the other way, right? If you're like, well, what if it breaks a week out of warranty? What if it doesn't? Then you paid for a warranty you never used. You got to make that, you got to decide that for yourself. Whatever you need to get you be able to sleep at night. Break Jimmy said that HP is a, okay, he's got the model. CPU is an Intel Pentium Silver. Ooh. Date of manufacture, July 20th, 2021. It came with Windows 11 Home. Oh, it's Windows 11 compatible. Okay. Thank you, Frank. Robert McCord Magumi joins us, says hello. Restart required. Ah, what did I do? It's painful. Oh, it says download and install. It doesn't say restart. What's it talking about? This is all saying, oh, this says retry, retry, install, 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 install. And this one is downloading. It says 6%. Let's restart it. I just want to see if my HDMI port works, for crying out loud. Power? Any day now. Hello. There it goes. Oh, I missed it. Restart. Maybe I'll just touch the screen. Wow, that is just painful. I've asked it to restart. It's just sitting here processing. I've told it to restart 3 times, so the button's still popping up, everything's still coming up, but it's got so much, it's overwhelmed on its shoulders. It's like, I'll get to you, be patient. It's been more than 30 seconds, let's go. Jeez, oh man. What's this thing running off of? Logs? Is this a steam-powered computer? What's going on here? Is this coal? It's got to be the mechanical drive. And I'll bet you if we just throw a SATA SSD in there, it'd be a lot faster. There it goes. Finally, it's restarting. David Graham wants us to look at that large white laptop. All right, let me put this one back. We have just enough time to do that. I suspect we're probably going to see more of the same here. I don't want to misplace anything, so I did want to erase this for them, even if they don't care or not. I feel good at doing it, but I'll just put it away for right now. I'll do that later tonight. I'll get my drive eraser out. Let that run. Clear that bad boy off of there. But at least I don't have to put any screws back, aside from those 2. Keep an eye on that one. All right, this one also, all the stickers have been removed. HP touchscreen needs battery. Core i7. Okay. Larger screen. It's in pretty good shape. Well, it has an optical drive. It's got to be pretty old, though. When's the last time you've seen a laptop that came with an optical drive? It's been about 6 or 7 years since I've seen one. There's some pretty big screws for a laptop. You also know this is an older laptop because the battery is removable without having to open the laptop up. There's a latch here and here. And then there's your battery. Remember those days? Looking to see if there's any screws hiding back there. And indeed there is. Okay. This thing. Hello. It's thinking about it. That's a massive screw on the hinge. And then just above the battery, there's some more hidden screws. The good thing about that is it forces the technician or the end user to take the battery out. A lot of people never disconnect the battery once they get in there. And depending on the work you're doing, it's pretty safe practice, you know, to do that. Okay, the desktop's coming up, but I don't see anything happening on our HDMI. That's a lot of screws. 4, 8, 12, 14 screws to get the back of this off. Can't really tell how that's supposed to come apart. I think maybe this is one of those where the keyboard comes off and the back stays on. Spudging tool. Making progress. Boy, what a difference having the right tools can make, you know? Also, having a little experience with those tools doesn't help, or doesn't hurt either. Doesn't help? Well, in my case. Speak for yourself. Someone's got us latched on right here. I wonder if this drive has to come out. I don't think so. I don't think so. We're back up to the desktop, but I'm still getting no video input there. Yeah, something's definitely holding us in right here. And there could be a screw underneath this lid, so I don't want to, the drawer lid of the DVD drive. There's a couple plugs right here. I wonder if there's any screws underneath here I have to remove. I think there's a screw underneath this door. So on these optical drive doors, you can use a SIM card removal tool. which I'm pretty sure I have in here. Or you can grab a paper clip and just kind of straighten out an end of it. So this is a SIM card removal tool. And if I put it in the hole right here, I should be able to force that open. Maybe. Maybe not. This may not be long enough. Let me jump back over here for a second. I want to just check one thing. Plug that back in. Because the streamer has just been set up, I think I configured it correctly, but it's possible I don't have the right input selected on the back of the card for the cable I'm using, but I'm pretty sure I do. Just double check that. It definitely seems to not be. Yeah, it's got no signal. So I'm sure I hooked it all up right. Just not getting anything out of this port. Could be the port's damaged, or we just still haven't installed the driver yet. Let me just take another look over here, because there were still a bunch of drivers waiting to install. I was just hoping that maybe some of those drivers we installed, or updates rather, that we installed. Touchscreen's not working. Oh, it is working. It just took a long time to respond. Might make a difference in performance, or might solve the being able to share the screen with you. But not yet anyway. So I'm going to need a paper clip. Pop that door open. There's going to be a screw right underneath there, I'm sure of it. I'm not sure where the latch is that holds the door. I was thinking maybe I could spudge it. Apparently not. All right, so we're going back over to Windows Update on this one. I'll hit the Install All button. So that's back to doing its thing. Again, I'm waiting on a video driver. That should activate that, and then the black portion of the border here, I'm leaving that there so I can see when that turns on. It may never turn on. We're already at the 2-hour mark. So I don't know if there's screws under here. When I try to remove this side, I'm getting right up to the hinge, and I'm getting stuck at the hinge. So that side's pretty much good. I see a mechanical drive. What a shocker. Sometimes there's screws going in this way. Don't see that in this case. Definitely not one of the easier ones to open. Started out promising. Stuff like this, you know, you can always hit YouTube. Somebody's probably got a disassembly video here. These little hinge covers can oftentimes hide screws, which looks like that's what it's doing right now. There's a screw back here, and that means probably under this hinge cover. There's probably another one. Is that a Phillips head? Because it's just... Oh boy. I think we got a screw that's stripped out. I'm afraid this one is stripped. The screw is turning, it's just not coming out. So anyway, is it worth fixing? I mean, it's easy enough to change the battery. And again, if we pull up a YouTube video on this particular model, I'm sure there's a teardown video, so I don't have to recreate the wheel here. And then this issue, oops. Oh, did my video came up, didn't it? Look at that. Now the HDMI port on that machine is working. Who knew? All right, let me set this down. I'll put this over here for right now. So, you know, there's, it's not like we're finding amazing computers so far. I mean, I know they're in there, but there are going to be an abundance of older machines. And what's too old is really up to the individual, and also the price that's being offered, the condition it's in, what you need the machine to do. And this is one of the difficulties in recycling, right? You want to do the right thing. You want to say, hey, let's give this thing another life. And even if you put the love into it, into time, care, it doesn't make anybody want it necessarily. So they might just look at your hard work and just immediately dismiss it and look at you like you're an idiot for wasting your time. Like, that's your thank you, is you want to sell me that? Do you have any idea how much time I put into this to keep it out of the landfill? And so we're dealing in a culture in society right now of two very different extremes. You've got the people that absolutely want to do everything they can to lower their energy usage. They're driving electric cars perhaps to avoid using any fossil fuels as much as possible. And they're very, very ecologically minded. You've got other people that say, no, I'm not going to suffer and live my life to that level. You know, I'm going to buy, I earn my money, I'm going to spend it how I want. And it'll be somebody else's mess. It'll go in the landfill. That'll be another generation's problem. I don't care. And that's fair. I mean, quite honestly, other countries are, no matter what we do here in the US or in England or the UK, no matter what recycling efforts we do, there's Venezuela and Mexico, China and India that are adding so much waste. Boy, it's not like there's borders that are put up over the air quality and the in our atmosphere, right? So be that as it may, there's two very different schools of thoughts on that. Now, there's also situations that I can personally tell you about that somebody wants to start a business and they need a couple of computers. They've got an office and they're trying to reduce their startup cost as much as possible because whatever amount of money they're using to start up their business, that's all they have until the business starts generating revenue. So the more money they have left over, the longer the business has to start turning a profit. They can fall back on their, let's call it, savings account to pay the rent and pay the electricity and get some marketing out there and start getting some customers and start sending out some bills. It's going to take time. You're going to need some financing to keep you running there. You know, think of a restaurant that's selling you a $20 or $30 meal. The cost of setting that restaurant up with the kitchen, the staff, the food, all that has to be purchased ahead of time. The signage, the dining room, the tables, the tablecloths if need be, the silverware, the plates, the dishwasher, the sinks, the stoves, the pots and pans, the menus, the cash register, the ability of taking payment. All of that has to be money up front. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Probably no less than $250,000, I would guesstimate. You might be able to do it at 150 if it's a little fast food like a sandwich shop. But when you're selling sandwiches for $13 a piece, and you've got to pay for the ongoing rent and labor, electricity, and you keep having to buy more food as you sell it, you don't have $13 of profit on a $13 sandwich. So how many sandwiches will you need to sell just to make back your investment before you start turning a profit? It's going to be a while. So in the meantime, what do you do to make ends meet? Well, you've got to have some nest egg that you're going back to. The bigger that nest egg is, the more time you have to get this all figured out. So it's not uncommon for somebody that's starting a business and they say, can we put 4 computers in here, just cheap ones, whatever, can we get used ones? Can we get some used phones? Can we buy some equipment from a company that went out of business? Restaurants do this too, by the way. We buy some restaurants' kitchen equipment that went out of business. Nothing wrong with it, just clean it, move it, hook it up. And especially if you're opening a restaurant where there wasn't a restaurant before, you've got to put grease traps in, you've got to get your plumbing put in where you're going to have your restrooms. Versus, say, an office building, the restrooms are usually where they are. You're not usually moving plumbing and electrical like you would on a restaurant. So if a restaurant's moving into where an old restaurant used to be, and you don't mind keeping everything where it was as far as plumbing and electrical goes, it's a lot cheaper to get you off the ground. But what'll happen, like if it's a real estate company or, you know, a typical white-collar job, is they might say, for example, doing this on my own dime, I need to do it as cheap as possible. Can we get some off-lease computers in here that are decent and get us hooked up and running? And then when we start turning a profit, we'll call you in about a year or whatever long time that takes when we're actually ready to get better equipment. But for right now, what can we do to get us started as cheaply as possible, because we have so many other expenses at the startup? And Jason's got a few stories of that, you know, where somebody actually ordered a whole new setup, like 14 computers, and then the company failed to deliver them on time. And the story that Jason over at Emerald Computers says is they called him and said, can you get 14 computers over here right now? I've already paid for these other ones. I'll work on getting my money back, but I can't postpone opening my business. I'm bleeding money. And Jason's like, what do you want? And then they went over there, hooked it all up, did all the cabling, and it cost the guy, I think Jason said it cost him like $2,000. It was like a fraction of what he had spent for the stuff that never arrived on time. And it wasn't meant to be permanent, but it's there to get you up and running, and then it's done. It might be good enough for a couple of years, potentially. Depends on the business owner's, idea of how important the machines are to getting the work done. So recycling in that way is a lot easier, right? Because you're going to sell in bulk. It's going from a business to a business. It's a very easy move. But when we're dealing with these laptops, and they're all so unique, unless they're business class laptops, which he also has, we get a lot of these sort of rando, one-of-a-kind things that just don't have any value, or they're not worth fixing. And that's the fun, I suppose, is if you're an individual and you want to go in the warehouse, and everybody's allowed back there, you just ask for permission. Ideally, you'll make an appointment when Jason is there, because he's the one that you can negotiate money with. So you say, hey, Jason, you call him on the phone. I'd like to come in, walk around the warehouse, potentially buy a machine, or who knows, maybe I'll buy several. Is there a good time for you? And he'll set an appointment for you. You come in, you're going to talk to the man himself, the owner. He's the decision maker. He'll tell you if he'll accept your offer, or what deal he's going to make. His employees don't have that. They can sell it at stock price, but if you want to make a special deal, you want to talk to the man himself, and he's more than happy. He loves making deals. And if somebody says, hey, I just want to look around, and that's fine. When you're ready to make a purchase, let me know. You can go in there with just the employees, that's fine. But when it comes time to make the purchase, if you want to make a deal, you got to talk to him. So if you don't know if you want to make a deal, don't make the appointment with him. Just say, I just want to look around first. Okay. And if there's things you're interested in, you can ask the employees to set them aside. And then you can say, okay, now I'm ready to make a deal. I've got what I want set aside. Can you give me a price? You don't even have to go back. He'll see what you've got set aside. You can work that out over the phone. And then you can come in, he'll tell the employees, when you come in, those are for you, and that's the price you've given him. There you go. So it's just a different way of shopping. It's like comparing going to Best Buy to going to a garage sale. And there might be some really, really good deals at the garage sale, but probably just a lot of junk that needs to go in the trash can. And the difference is with Emerald Computers is they're keeping it out of the trash can. It will go to a proper recycler for plastics, or for gold removal off of the circuit boards, or melting down in the case of metal cases and things like that, to go to scrap metal to be shredded and melted down. So either way, it's still going to be processed out of the landfill, one way or the other. And I think that's about it. I don't know what I can do with this. This is far more involved to get it open than I think I'm willing to put any time in. I thought we'll just plug it in and see what's in there, or just open it up, because I'm using the power plug right now. I only have the one. So after the show, what I can do is just put the screws back in it, put the battery back in it. When this is done, move that power plug over here, because it'll probably be easier to see what the specs are on that. But I can't even get the lid off of it. I have no idea what that is. I don't know if anybody recognizes what this is. Sometimes you can reverse look it up by the battery. They may have several models of laptop that use the same battery, but if we know it's an i7 touchscreen, so we've got a battery replacement number here. Let me do that real quick. HP spare part number 800049-001. 20 bucks. 20 bucks. Okay, so what laptop does that go to? It may be an OmniBook, maybe. Maybe not. Let's go back over to Amazon. We'll look for a seller of this battery and see what it works with. Aha! It does have a 17-inch model listed here. It shows a 14, a 15. Shows an HP Pavilion 17G. Okay. We don't know which 17G, but that's a start. HP Pavilion 17G. HP Pavilion 17G. Well, I don't know that we have this specific model, but this one, for example, is a 17G with an Intel Core i5-6200. That's pretty old. That's not going to be Windows 11. 8 gigs, DDR3, an NVIDIA GeForce 940, a 5400 1 terabyte hard drive. There's the DVD burner, 17.3-inch display, full-size keyboard, 802.11n, oof, 1x1 with Bluetooth 4.0, oof. Media card reader, yeah, it seems to have that too. 10100 network card, yikes. Yeah, that's probably the oldest of all of them. That was a Windows 10 system. Show a release date. 6th gen, that would have been about 9 years ago. Well, further than that, 10 years ago. Got Skype though, so that's good. Because they shut down Skype a few months ago. Let's do this. HP Pavilion Notebook. Let's just ask when this was released. I know I mistyped. It'll correct it. 2015, 10 years ago. Yeah, laptops definitely don't age as gracefully as desktops because of how, you know, especially designed like this where everything's kind of locked in. Very difficult to get at and very limited upgradability. And on top of that, it wasn't that great when it was new. And it got the tail end of the Windows 10 with those 6th generation chips. And that would have been, what, Windows 10 release date was when? Oh, Windows 10 would have just come out when this laptop came out. Oh, there you go. There you go. Frank says that laptop serial number should be printed on the bottom of the case. Unfortunately, the case is wiped clean. So it is what it is. It's not that important. It's likely in the same family, that 2015 family. And no matter what it's got, it's not going to be Windows 11 compatible. I can tell you that right now. So as far as I'm concerned, it's worthless. This still has potential, but I don't think it's worth the money. And the red one, I don't think it's worth any. I don't think any of these are worth the time. None of these three. But remember, I just picked 3 random laptops out of literally hundreds and hundreds of laptops. And this is just a random sample. I also have a couple desktops that we haven't looked at yet from Emerald Computers that we'll do the same thing with. Those will be a lot more modular, easier to get in, easier to decipher, and far less screws will be involved. I'll let that update. It's not going to hurt anything, but what I'll do is I'll put a post-it note on these with the CPU, RAM, and storage drive. And then I'll make a note if I've cleaned them or not. And then when I turn them over, they'll at least have that information that they don't, you know, they could verify it if they want to, but they won't have to reproduce all this work again. You can see just going through and seeing what you've got, How many do you think you could do in a day? Just to figure out what the hell it is. Let's say you're not doing any work. All I want you to do is go into the warehouse, grab a stack of laptops, and for the next 8 hours, I want you to get a Post-it note and write down the model number, the date of manufacturer, the processor specifically that laptop has, the RAM, how much and what kind, is it DDR3, DDR4, and then the storage drive, is it mechanical, hybrid, solid state, is it an M.2? You don't have to physically open the machine. Put that on the Post-it note and go to the next one. How many do you think you by yourself can do in an 8-hour day? I'm going to guess you can do 3 an hour, 3 or 4 an hour. And that's if you're really working it. Mike Quinton says, what are some use case of mini PC versus laptop? Well, essentially laptops are designed to be portable, right? So if you're somebody on the go, you're not going to be able to use a mini PC while you're sitting on a plane necessarily, or in the midst of travel, sitting on a train, sitting in the back of a car. You're sort of on your own with your phone at that point. If you have a laptop, you have a computer available to you no matter where you are, sitting at the airport terminal, waiting to board the plane, being on the plane, you can continue to work or do whatever it is that you've got a computer for. Mini PCs, on the other hand, they're essentially a desktop computer replacement. They're not a laptop replacement. And while you could take a mini PC with its power adapter, keyboard and mouse, and an HDMI cable to plug into a hotel computer, you could use it on the go, assuming the hotel hasn't blocked the HDMI ports. Some do on the hotel room televisions. I don't see it too often, but once in a while. Or you can bring your own portable monitor. Those are like $100 or whatever, 15-inch portable monitor. You can often, if you pair it together really well, you can power the monitor out of the mini PC and then just power the mini PC. Or you could go the other way around and power the monitor, and through the monitor's power, plug in the mini PC, but that usually requires the monitor being plugged in the wall. With a laptop, in theory, you don't have to be plugged in at all, you just run off the battery. So your laptop's going to have a battery, it's going to have a set of speakers, it's going to have a screen, a monitor. Mini PC won't have any of that. So I don't really compare a laptop to a mini PC any more than I compare a pickup truck to a sports car. Yes, they're both cars, but with entirely different purposes, and certain things you can do in a sports car you cannot do in a pickup truck, and vice versa. Just not possible. So I wouldn't compare them, but there you go. So it doesn't mean you can't do it. It's if you're using a tool that's not designed for the way you're using it, that's an individual use case scenario that's not typical. So there may be people that travel with mini PCs, but that's not normal. It's not common. Let's see, what is this doing? This wants to reboot or what? There we go. Bunch of retries. Install all. Oh, it's downloading. That's a big cumulative update there. That's going to run a while. Laptops are like all-in-ones. Well, no, because all-in-ones need to be plugged in. All-in-ones don't have batteries. Well, there's probably some manufacturer makes some version of an all-in-one with a battery, but the screen will be so big your battery life isn't going to be very good. I do know that Dell or HP did make a big all-in-one, which was a screen with a handle on it that had a little like seat back, like an airplane might have, or the back seat of a car. when you're looking at the back of the front seat, they'll have that little piece you can pull away and stick paperwork in and stuff. So they do make that where you can stick your keyboard and mouse into the little slot or the little pocket that's built into the back of the screen, and then the handle folds out, and it does have a small battery in it. But that battery isn't going to power that monitor very long. So all-in-ones are not laptops. Laptops are not mini PCs. And mini PCs are not desktops. In much the same way, a minivan is not a pickup truck. And a pickup truck is not a school bus. It's not an SUV. So there's these different tools, and which one that you define as more favorable is your choice, and it's great to have choices, isn't it? And you can have it in whatever color you want it to. If you want to check out, Emerald Computer's inventory is constantly shifting, and they don't keep on top of it. It's too much. But about every 6 to 8 weeks, they update a spreadsheet with what the current inventory is. As it's selling, they do not update the spreadsheet. So if you see something on the spreadsheet, you need to call and verify. I mean, if it's really important to you and you really want it, it might have already been sold weeks ago. So you want to call and verify that they have that. Likely you'd want to pick out several different things. If there's only one thing on that entire spreadsheet you're interested in, it's 50-50 if they're going to have it or not. But I would call ahead of time. And if you want to know the latest things they've got right now, you need to go there in person. They're not going to write a whole list up for you. That would take days. But you're welcome to set an appointment and go in there, during regular hours. You don't even need an appointment if you just want to walk through the warehouse. Just ask, and an employee will help you. And they're located in Peoria, Arizona, and the place is massive. You're going to be there a while. If you want to dig through the stuff and see what's really hiding, that's on you to do the digging, right? And it's a neat place, and it's very hot in that warehouse in the summertime. So dress accordingly. Scott says, thanks for your stream, Carey and Marlena, much appreciated. Well, thanks to our friend Jason over at Emerald Computers for allowing us to play around a little bit here. I'm actually impressed with, every machine works so far as I can tell. There's no cracked screens. They're just old. They have mechanical drives. All three of them have mechanical drives. And all three of them were probably pretty low price. Maybe not this white one because it's a 17-inch. But even as far as 17-inch goes, I don't know. It's hard to say. If anything, this one would have had more value when it was new than the red one or the silver one. And sometimes just offering it in red adds another price fee onto the price tag. Even if it was similarly equipped, the fact that they sell it in red would make it worth more. That's not uncommon. I can't say for sure that's the case. That wouldn't surprise me. So in order of value, I would guess this one, then the red one, then the white one. This one's being the cheapest, the white one being the most expensive, and the red falling somewhere in the middle. And I'm basing that again. 17-inch screen is going to cost more. Even if it's an older processor, it was an i7. This is just an i5, even though it's 2 generations newer than this. But it's also a smaller screen. They're both touch screens. I don't know if the red one is a touch screen or not. But in any case, I personally don't like touchscreens. No thank you. But that would also add to the cost of the unit because it's seen as a feature. I want a touchscreen on a tablet. I want a touchscreen on a phone. I don't want a touchscreen when I have a trackpad. But that's just me. Now, if there's a 3-in-1, which is a laptop that screen folds all the way back so you can use it as a tablet, then obviously I want a touchscreen. But I don't want a 2-in-1 is what they're called, rather. Minis Forum made one, they called it a 3-in-1, because not only would it work as a computer, not only would it work as a tablet, but you could plug a cable into it and use it as a third monitor on some other computer, thereby being 3-in-1, which is pretty genius. But for me personally, and the way I use computers, I have no use for that. It doesn't solve anything for me. But that doesn't mean it doesn't solve something for somebody else. Lots of choices out there. Jose Lopez with a $1 super chat. Thank you, Jose. David Graham said they all have their place. Exactly. To each their own. Just like buying a pair of shoes. There's a pretty good chance you and I are not buying the same pair of shoes or the same style. I don't wear boots. You might wear nothing but boots. Nobody's wrong. I might wear red shoes, and you're like, I would never own a pair of red shoes. There's lots of shoes. And just because most of them are not appealing to you does not mean they are worthless to everybody else. And it's pretty similar with computers. Things to think about. Also, there may be a computer recycler near you. And like Emerald Computers has been in business over 20 years. I had no idea because I never looked for it. So if they're not throwing marketing at me and I'm not seeing it, because there isn't any, or it's marketing over here to this demographic and I'm in this we just never cross paths. So I've had people reach out and say, oh, I wish there was a place near me. And I'm like, well, where are you? Well, I'm in England. Well, there's a place in England. There's several that do this. They're nearly the same. So I can tell somebody thousands of miles away that there's a place maybe 30, 40 miles away in this case from where they live, and they don't even know it, that they took the time to write to me to say, I wish there was a place, when it would have been fewer words to just go to Google and ask if there's a place near them, and they could have figured that out on their own without involving me in it. It's sort of like somebody taller than me or the same height as me asking me if I can get something off the shelf for them. Okay, I mean, sure, I'll get it off the shelf for you, but I don't know why you just didn't go grab it yourself. Don't assume there's not a computer recycler near you. There's better odds now than ever before in history that even if one didn't exist last year near you, there's a great chance there is one. And if it's not near you, it'll be closer to you than it used to be. There's a very good chance because the popularity of this kind of thing is going up and up. And in places that never had recyclings, places that do recycling, they now do. And they often have no marketing budget. So you have to go and look for it. And if you live out in the sticks, whatever the nearest big town is, wherever you live, there's going to be a big city somewhere. There's likely a recycling center in that big city or in the outskirts of that big city. Likely. Google is your friend. You might be surprised. And if you find something that you didn't realize was there until you Googled it, like I said, and you go there and you find something, please share your story with us. Chris Garrett mentions Atlanta's 130 miles away. So I've met people that live at one edge of a state where they're actually closer to a neighboring state's big town. So like if you were in North Dakota, and am I thinking North Dakota? Yeah, if you're in North Dakota, you might actually be closer to Minneapolis than you are to Fargo. So if you live, if you're living in Georgia, you might be closer to Florida, you might be closer to, what's above Georgia? South Carolina? I have to look at a map. I guess what I'm saying is there's going to be a big city. It may not be in the same state that's closer to you. And wherever that big city is that's closest to you, and maybe that is 130 miles away. But if you live out in the sticks in rural America, or rural anywhere, then you know you're not close to anything. That's not just that you're not close to a recycling center. If you live out in the woods, if you're in the Amazon jungle, well, you're not close to anything. So what's your point? Anyway. Chris mentions maybe Jacksonville, Florida, or Tennessee. Yeah. C7TJ says in the chat room, I enjoy my 9950 X3D, but boy, was Carey right. Even though I've had an X299 before that one, they are hot chips, and I've got a 360 millimeter Be Quiet Pure Loop all-in-one on it, and it's not overclocked. Yeah, anything that's going to be the top of the line, latest CPU, latest Gen 5 NVMe, it's going to run hot. That just comes with the territory of being in that position. Sort of like, I ran a race and I came in first place and I'm so tired. Really took a lot out of me. You could have walked and came in last place and probably arrived refreshed. Scott says there's 18,000 people here in central Wisconsin. That's cute. Are you saying that's a lot of people? I don't think there's a suburb of Phoenix that is that small. I think minimum they're over 100,000 at the smallest. Like just the county, Maricopa County in Arizona. What is the size? What is the square miles? I think it's 9,000 square miles. Square miles of Maricopa County. 9,224 square miles in the county. And what is the population? $4.673 million people as of last year. So what percentage is 18,000 of 4.673 million? No, 18,000 is, I mean, I don't know if you were implying that was a lot of people. That's a tiny little village to me. Heck, even when I grew up in Detroit. What is the population of Wayne County? But a lot of people moved out of there. 1.77 million. Yeah. That's a fifth of Arizona, of Maricopa County. And then if you want to talk about Ventura County in Los Angeles, you're looking at, is it not Ventura? Orange County. Orange County is 3.17 million. But then you add another million on Ventura or something like that, and then San Diego, and then San Francisco, for a total population, and Sacramento go up north, of almost 40 million people in the entire state of California. 40 million people. That's a big state, right? You've got big population San Diego, big population LA, big population San Francisco, and then everything else going north is pretty small, relatively speaking. Or going east, going towards Las Vegas, or going towards Arizona, it sort of opens up in Sierra Nevada mountains and stuff. Fresno, like where Doug Betts lives, much, much smaller. Very different type of California. Scott says we have a place that takes old electronics that's run by veterans. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, if you're in New York, New Jersey, they're going to be recycling places all over the place there for sure. And he said there's only about 1,400 people in the town he lives in. That sounds like heaven. All right, guys. I think that'll wrap it up. Thank you again for hanging out with me today. It's been fun. This is just going to sit here and update. I'm just going to finish it because it's my OCD. It's not hurting anything. I'll get a Post-it note. I'm going to write down CPU, RAM, storage, and I'll write that I put a clean install of Windows on it. I would like to clean the drives off of these other 2 units, even if it's not a secure erase, even if it's just wiping the partitions, just to protect any data that's on here. It's not that Emerald Computers doesn't do it. Of course, they completely remove the drives altogether and have them destroyed. But I feel like I need to thank them in some way, you know what I mean, for loaning me this stuff. And I figure if I can do one little thing for them, it's the thought that counts. I don't know how important it really is, but it makes me feel better about the arrangement. And then we have 2 more desktops. And once we get through those 2 desktops that are from Emerald, my intent is to bring all this stuff back. Because remember, we looked at a mini PC, we looked at a little mini server, and then we looked at the 3 laptops, and then we've got the 2 desktops. So when I was there last, I took a little bit of everything, a little sample, little bite. And when we go back, I'm hoping to take a few more bites. So maybe a few more laptops, maybe a few more desktops. And who knows, maybe you'll have something crazy and weird there. Maybe I'll take a look at one of the vintage computers, although personally, I don't want to go back to wearing diapers. You know, I might say, wow, these are diapers. I haven't worn these in a long time. Yeah, I'm good with that, though. But we'll see what my mood is. That's going to wrap it up. Guys, thank you for your super chats, your contributions. Thank you for your memberships. A shout out to our friend at Emerald Computers. Their links, if you want to take a look at what's at their shop. You can even make arrangements to have things mailed to you. Just you have to pay for that. They're not going to tell you no. John Lewis just renewed his membership. Now a member for 28 months. Is that 28 or 29? Thank you, John. Matthew Burden saying thank you. It's 28 months. Right on. And thank you to Mara, as always, for all the work she does behind the scenes, all the administrative tasks. Getting those laptops taped back up earlier so we can return them back over to Nemo. And then Nemo can send us something else. We got a great message from my contact at Minis Forum. Minis Forum has this amazing mini PC that I've been silently coveting. And it's actually more of a small form factor computer. So before we go, I'm going to just tease you with this because it's supposed to be arriving soon, whatever that means. And it's this machine. I'll give you a little early peek. The MS S1 Max. This is the single most powerful next-gen AI workstation, probably workstation period, they've ever released. This thing, well, let me just show you the specs. It's an AMD Ryzen AI Max 395. That's your Strix Halo that has the 8060S graphics. So this thing does gaming without a discrete, an additional graphics card. It has, if you're sitting down, it's a 320 watt power supply built into it. And it'll run local language models, for AI enthusiasts and whatnot. It's a lot of power for power users and creatives, content creators. No problem running Adobe products and DaVinci Resolve, all that stuff. Blender, no problem. On top of that, the USB 4 is now version 2. USB 4 version 2 operates at twice the speed of version 1. So version 2 was 40 gigs per second, then version 2 of USB 4 is 80 gigs per second. So I think, and I might be confused, but I thought this USB 4 was 80 gigabits per second, but that may be a different model I'm confusing. It's got a built-in power supply. There's two 10 gig built-in network jacks. 10 gigs, 2 of them. Essentially, that USB 4 version 2 is Thunderbolt 5, is equivalent to. And yeah, I don't know about you, but I am super excited to get this in my hands. And you can see you can have it sitting upright, or you can lay it flat if you prefer, vertical or horizontal. And it looks very similar in design to the other workstations where they've got that clamshell. Would it be a clamshell? It's that slide off cover. You just undo, it's either one screw or it's a release button depending on how they implemented it. And then you just slide the cover off, and then you're super easy to get in to do any upgrades or maintenance. So there's a little video of the airflow design. And Minisforum is really good about that kind of stuff. So in any event, I couldn't keep it to myself. I'm terrible at keeping secrets. I'm super excited. I know they shipped it. I don't know when I'm going to get it. But whenever the delivery company gets it here is when we'll have it. And I'll probably be so excited. I will try to save it for a Friday video. I don't know that I'll be able to, but maybe I'll get lucky. It'll arrive on a Thursday. So I've got Mara already at work building the thumbnail and putting the links together so that when this thing arrives, we can instantly jump at it the next day and do the video for it. And that thing is expensive, but it's also a lot of computer. And thanks to our friends at Minisforum for keeping us in mind and letting us be an early reviewer on that. I don't know if I'll get it any earlier. But there may be some other content creators that get theirs before I get mine. So if you're interested in it, you might start looking for that on YouTube here, because I'm sure they didn't just send one to me. They probably sent one to the content creators, and so depending on where they live and their distance, some people may get theirs before others. Regardless, we should have an early look at it. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thanks again for hanging out. Thank you all for being members and friends of the channel. We'll see you all again very, very soon. Until next time, bye for now.